A man in Brazil dives into an alley so narrow the girl on the back has to jump off to save her life. What on earth is going on? When night has just fallen over the cramped streets of São Paulo, it's easy to think the whole city has gone quiet, but give it a few seconds and you'll see a different world. A world where motorcycles roar like wild animals, where people are willing to gamble everything just to feel speed. For a few insane moments, dust rises in thick clouds, streetlights smear across spinning wheels, and in the middle of that chaos, a reckless rider is squeezing through turns so tight that even two people walking side by side wouldn't fit behind him. A young woman clings on, as if her life is hanging from the throttle in his right hand. This isn't a scene from a Hollywood action movie. This is raw reality that plays out almost every night in Brazil, where speed is treated like a drug, where Rolazinho groups see outrunning the police as an extreme sport, and where human life gets thrown on the scale just to buy a few seconds of excitement or a few thousand views on social media. The scary part is this. These riders aren't fugitives on the run from a serious crime. They're not running because they're afraid of being locked up after some major case. They run just to prove they're cool, tough enough, crazy enough to defy the system. They treat the police like rivals, the streets like a racetrack, and blasting through a neighborhood at 150 to 200 kilometers per hour like some kind of game. And on the other side is Rocam, Brazil's special motorcycle unit. They don't have helicopters. They don't have high-end radar. They don't have fancy tech tools like some European police forces. The only things they really have are instinct, skill, and the toughness that comes with facing the streets every single day. They don't chase suspects from behind a console. They do it with wheels, muscles, and split-second decisions in every turn. The chase at the beginning of the video isn't just tense, it's suffocating to watch. The Yamaha XJ6, a powerful sport bike, rockets into tiny alleys, scraping along walls, slipping past parked cars so close that being off by 2 inches would mean a brutal crash. The girl on the back starts to panic, and in a moment of sheer desperation, she chooses the only way she sees to save her own life. She lets go, drops herself onto the pavement as the bike hurtles into an alley barely as wide as a human body. It's the kind of scene that makes anyone watching hold their breath. The man keeps going. He doesn't stop to help her. He doesn't look back. He doesn't think. For people addicted to speed like this, the feeling of winning matters more than the person sitting behind them. But the street is not a perfect stage. It has an end. And he finds that end when he shoots out into an intersection and slams straight into a police car, blocking the way. The impact sends him and the bike flying across the asphalt like a toy being swatted away. Even though he tries to scramble up and run, he can't get away. The game is over. And reality hits hard. Nobody wins when they gamble with the street. But here's the point. This kind of madness isn't just in South America in the United States, where highways are so wide you could almost land a small plane on them. Speed turns people into the same kind of reckless creatures. It's close to midnight on Interstate 30. Traffic is thinning out. Then suddenly, a silver and red sport bike flashes by like a streak of light, punching up to 225 kilometers per hour in just a few seconds. Trooper Hall, an Arkansas state trooper, gets the call over the radio. The subject is approaching your position at a very high rate of speed. He barely has time to flip on the lights and pull out in the first few seconds. Trooper Hall can't even close the gap enough for his dashcam to get a clear shot. This isn't some average rider. The guy is crouched low over the tank like a professional racer, using every bit of aerodynamics to squeeze out more speed. Most people don't realize this. At speeds over 200 kilometers per hour, a tiny twitch in your hand can send the bike into the next lane and cause a catastrophic wreck. But this guy is passing on the right, threading through gaps barely wider than a side mirror, and every pass puts death right in front of his face. The difference between a chase in the US and a chase in Brazil is this. Brazil uses tight streets and alleys to choke off the runner. America's wide-open roads become the danger themselves. With no natural barriers, the suspect can just keep adding speed until he destroys himself. And then the inevitable happens. After nearly 30 miles of a breathless pursuit, the runner loses control, shoots into the median, and slams into the patrol car's door. He still tries to resist, but it's far too late. In both cases, from South America to North America, the lesson is the same. Adrenaline makes people believe they're invincible, but the ending is always identical: a broken body and a pair of handcuffs in another chase. Rockham officers dive back into a maze of alleys. But this time, they're not just chasing a suspect. They're up against the neighborhood too. A man on the sidewalk throws something hard at the officer. Then a kid, yes, a kid, picks up a plastic crate and hurls it straight into the face of the officer riding the motorcycle that isn't just dangerous. It's a symptom of something much bigger. An anti-police culture has sunk deep into part of the community. And when that happens, the line between right and wrong, safety and chaos, gets wiped out completely. The officers keep going anyway, bouncing over cracked concrete, sidewalks, narrow passages, anything it takes to catch the suspect. And finally, when the runner is exhausted, he drops the bike and gives up. Then the video closes with a familiar but sharply sarcastic question. Is challenging the police like that brave, or just stupid? There's only one honest answer. It's stupid to a frightening degree. No one is born wanting to rip through the streets like a maniac in the middle of the night. Nobody wakes up in the morning thinking, "Tonight I'm going to plow into a police car and end the day in handcuffs." So what makes people push themselves all the way out onto the edge between life and death? The answer comes down to one simple phrase: the illusion of power. When someone gets on a big motorcycle, especially a 600cc or 1000cc machine, they can feel like they control the whole world. A simple twist of the wrist unleashes hundreds of horsepower under their feet. The engine roars like a storm, and in that instant, they convince themselves they're untouchable, that they can beat any limit, that the police are just obstacles in the way of their fun. But there's a truth a lot of people try to avoid. The power isn't in the bike. The real power lies in the ability to control yourself. And that's exactly what the riders in the video have completely lost. Why do people like to challenge the police? The dark side of the ego viewers often ask, why don't they just stop? Why do they have to run? The police are just trying to pull them over, right? In reality, a lot of these incidents don't start with hardened criminals. They're not hauling drugs, not carrying guns, not fresh from some serious crime. They just don't want to be stopped. And the reasons boil down to three things. One, an ego bigger than their common sense. When people believe they're better, faster, the king of the streets, they won't accept letting a cop cut through that pride too. The cheering section on social media videos of riders popping wheelies, dodging cops, riding like in the movies, pull in millions of views that creates an addiction to attention and to the risky behavior that earns it. 3. The fantasy that if they go fast enough, they'll get away. They forget about traffic cameras, helicopters, digital evidence, phone data, all the things that make getting away almost impossible. Those three things create a dangerous loop. Run, record, upload, get hyped up, run again, and every cycle pushes the level of insanity a little higher. Back in Brazil, you see something even more disturbing. A lot of people treat the police as the enemy. If you watch closely in the video, it's not just the motorcyclist blocking Rockham. Residents, even kids, are throwing things at the officers. A kid, maybe 10 or 12 years old, hurls a plastic crate straight into the face of a cop on a motorcycle. That's not some silly prank. That's an assault on a law enforcement officer, and if the officer had lost control, the outcome could have been broken bones, brain injury, or worse. So you have to ask, why would a child do that? The answer isn't in the kid. It's in the world that kid is growing up in. A world where part of the community acts like fighting the police is normal. Where kids watch adults curse at officers, shove them, throw things at them. And then they copy it. That's a dangerous social spiral. When the law loses its respect, everything starts collapsing from the roots. And in that kind of environment, Rokum becomes the last wall, standing between order and chaos. They ride into alleys no other unit would enter. They chase suspects using nothing but skill and nerve. They face locals who are ready to attack them just to help a suspect get away. That's not just a job, that's a daily battle. People like to think Brazil is the chaotic one and America is more civilized. But that's not really how it works. The chase in Arkansas shows a different dark side. In the US, speed kills faster. Brazil's tight alleys make it harder to hit max speed. The US has wide, open freeways with few obstacles, so a rider can reach 225 kilometers per hour, a speed where even the smallest mistake can turn a crash into a mass casualty disaster. Picture it. At that speed, a human body in a head-on collision is practically shredded. Helmets won't save you. Gear won't save you. That's the kind of speed where the rider is literally joking with Death Trooper Hall did something many officers might not have the nerve to do. He stayed in the chase for nearly 30 miles. He knew the risk was massive, not just for himself, but for every car driving that highway. But if he hadn't chased, that rider could have killed an entire family just trying to drive home after a late shift. When the suspect finally lost control and slammed into the patrol car, that wasn't luck. It was the inevitable end of letting arrogance override judgment. After watching the whole video, you see one terrifying pattern. Both sides, the runners and the people cheering them on, treat human life like it's cheap. A girl on the back of the bike gets dumped onto the road like trash. Kids throw hard objects at cops like it's some kind of game. A rider risks everything just for 1 minute of fame. Locals cheer, even help suspects escape. If this were just a movie, you could shrug it off and laugh. But this is real life. And in real life, these choices kill people and leave scars that never go away. The problem isn't only in the law, it's in the mindset of the community. When recklessness gets glorified, when running from the cops becomes heroic, when attacking officers is framed as freedom, society starts cracking from the inside out. The biggest question: who is the real victim here? The victim isn't just the person who gets arrested, not just the officers, not just the locals in the neighborhood. The real victims are the innocent people dragged into a game they never chose to play. A family going to the grocery store, a mother driving her kid home, an old man stopped at a red light. With one wrong turn from a reckless rider, they could die on the spot. That's what really makes people angry when they watch this, not because they hate motorcycles, not because they automatically side with the police, but because they understand this. Society can't function if everyone decides they get to be their own law. Look back at the whole story. A man in Brazil dives into an alley so narrow, the girl behind him has to jump off just to survive. A rider in the US blasts along at 225 kilometers per hour and ends the night by slamming straight into a police cruiser. Children throw things at officers like it's entertainment. The crowd cheers on the danger without realizing they're pushing their own community toward the edge of chaos. All of that just to run away for a few minutes. All of that to prove what, exactly? That they're faster, that they're better, that they don't fear the law. In the end, they still get arrested, still get scraped up, still get charged, and still leave behind damage for everyone around them. No one wins when they race against stupidity. No one wins when recklessness is celebrated. Speed can make you feel more alive than ever, but it can also take everything from you in a single split second. Thank you for spending your time with us today. If this story made you think, opened your eyes, or simply gave you a new perspective on the parts of life most people never talk about, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Every subscription helps us keep going and brings you more real, powerful, and eye-opening stories. We'll see you in the next video, where we continue exploring the moments that may seem small, but reveal so much about the world around us. Stay safe, and don't forget to subscribe.